What's up, guys? So what we're talking about today is Trump's plan to put 60% tariffs on China, and if this is going to kill the Amazon seller, if it's going to ruin Amazon FBA as a business. So I want to break down what this means, if it will happen, how it could happen, and what you should be doing, what you should be thinking about. First, we're going to go into why Trump wants to do this in the first place. So first, going to this messy graph here. So this is the highest trade balance deficit in 2023. The US leads this by almost $2 trillion right here. Meaning if we sent out $2 trillion worth of goods to other countries, we brought in like $3.1 trillion worth of goods into our country. So as you can see, this is a pretty large discrepancy with the rest of the countries where China actually has a surplus of around 823 billion US dollars. And again, before I get in the nitty gritty here, I got to say, like, I'm trying not to get political about this. I'm just trying to get the facts out, whether you're left or right. Really what I care about is how this is going to affect the Amazon seller. So we see those large discrepancy in numbers. So my understanding is that Trump wants to essentially negotiate. He's threatened these people with tariffs just because we send so much money overseas to get better deals for the USA. So essentially he feels that we're getting screwed on a lot of these trade deals where they bring in goods, they're barely paying any tariffs on it, where if we brought goods into other countries, we've got to pay very high tariffs, and these deals are very lopsided, which ultimately has led to the death of American manufacturing, right? We see this everywhere, whether the car industry, steel industry, people losing jobs. And so this is a very unbalanced thing where we saw it in 2022 when we couldn't get things. We're out of toilet paper, we're out of a lot of goods, out of chips for fridges and cars. We couldn't get any goods because we relied on other people for these types of things. So my thinking is that he wants to negotiate with these people to essentially say, hey, if we raise tariffs on cars or steel, things like that, one, it's going to force them to negotiate, get better deals on both sides of the table. Two, if the tariff sticks, then these companies like Toyota or Mercedes or whoever have to build factories in the US, giving Americans jobs. So I can see the ultimate goal, bringing back jobs to the US, as well as just getting better deals. And in 2018, he actually at the G7 summit talked about free trade being the biggest thing he promotes, meaning he would love 0% tariffs around the world for free trade. Now, of course, this probably won't happen. We have other countries to negotiate with, but that's his goal. So I don't think his ultimate goal is to tax the heck out of everybody forever, but mainly use this as a show of force. Since we're sending $1.1 trillion to the rest of the world, he wants to just take this to the table, use this as a threat, negotiate. And if things come to the point where it brings back US manufacturing, great. Or if we just get better deals that promotes US manufacturing, right? If we have 0% tariffs to send to Germany, China, wherever it is, then that's going to make it easier for US manufacturers to do business here, create more jobs, get bigger, trade with the rest of the world, right? So that's the wishful thinking there. The wishful thinking is, again, just negotiating, and that's the best case scenario. Maybe we see some gradual hikes that we saw in 2016 to 2020 during that whole debacle. Maybe we see nothing. This stuff all has to go through Congress as well, so it can be voted down, especially for any long-term standing effects, right? I think he could put in something that hikes it up for a little bit if it's like a national crisis type emergency. Otherwise, any long-lasting effects have to go through Congress. And based on a lot of reactions out there, I don't know if this would pass or not because a lot of people are terrified this would lead to crazy inflation, especially with the small goods, right? So I can see this being more about the bigger things, car or steel, but the little stuff like spatulas and toys and games and things like that we sell on Amazon, I couldn't imagine putting a 60% tariff on stuff we get 90% from China and run on a campaign that's based on we have high inflation, I'm going to lower inflation, and then raise all the price of goods by 20%, 30%, whatever it is that we get from China. That'd look pretty stupid, right? So I have a hard time believing that's the ultimate strategy and not just pounding my chest and trying to get deals across, trying to get better deals for the US and bring back manufacturing here, make it more steady essentially, where China doesn't have this huge advantage versus the US when it comes to making goods at home. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm just an Amazon seller on here, just reading stuff like everybody else. Maybe I'm just a little bit numb. I've been doing this for over 8 years now. Every year we have a massive scare about something happening. So I have a hard time believing that just by one move, everything's gonna be broken from this. We also have to prepare for the worst case scenario, right? A good business owner prepares for the worst case and the best case. We can't just act like nothing could happen because a lot of things happen every day. It seems like we're living in a simulation. So what is the worst case? He puts 60% tariffs on all goods from China, potentially even 10 to 20% tariffs on all goods across the world being sent into America. So this means Mexico, India, Vietnam, all this good stuff. I don't think that necessarily will happen either, but again, we got to prepare for the worst case. So what can we do to prepare? And I think there's actually some good things that could come from this if you hop on it, you embrace the hard stuff of this, and you adapt, right? With all businesses, if you don't adapt, you could die. And one of those things you could do to adapt is find other countries to manufacture your goods in, right? India, Vietnam, Mexico, these are all getting bigger, right? If there's a 60% tariff on China, that means everyone else will be looking elsewhere. It's going to increase the manufacturing of everywhere else. So being able to adapt and find other manufacturers will be massive. Nobody else will do this probably. It'll be a very small percentage of people who actually put the work in to go find other manufacturers, right? So we're on Upwork right here. I just typed in India sourcing agent here, and we have tons of people who do this who will go find manufacturers for you. Now, I'm not saying it's just as easy as picking one of these people and asking for a manufacturer for a certain product. Like, you're going to have to probably find a freight forwarder, inspection service, make sure goods are up to quality, make sure language is there. Obviously, these sourcing agents could help you bridge the gap and find some really good people with connections there. But if you really think this is going to happen, which prepare for the worst if you're a doomsday person, and you put the work in, this could be a huge advantage because, again, if you figure this out before everyone else, you're going to have the advantage on Amazon when it comes to pricing, everything like that. Now, you can do the same thing for Pakistan, Vietnam, Mexico, South America, Turkey, all sorts of other manufacturing hubs around the world. But the fact is, America loves to buy goods. We are addicted shoppers and have a hard time believing negotiations wouldn't happen when there's 1.1 trillion US dollars on the line with other countries, because we know China's economy is based on trade, based on manufacturing. So a hard time believing there can't be something done there that makes it pretty easy, coherent, makes it a little bit more fair, and we just all get on with our lives. Everybody's happy. Maybe I'm just an optimist. I am just a YouTuber here, and this is my opinion, but this is based on 8 years of selling on Amazon. And every year, every 6 months, there's some doomsday event that's going to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. Again, I could be wrong here, but I think we just prepare for potentially worst case scenario, adapt if we have to. I have products right now. If you're wondering, my biases and all that stuff, I actually have products right now in China in the sample process that I plan to order in January. So I got money on the line as well. I'll be watching this closely, but I'm planning on moving full steam ahead with this as well. So if that was helpful, guys. Let me know in the comments if you guys know anything else about this or any other opinions, as well as subscribe if you want to stay up to date with everything Amazon FBA. Bye.